Willie Underwood the third, MD, and I'm president-elect of the American Medical Association. So my Aunt Joyce Johnson, who was friends with Maynard Jackson and others who were Morehouse grad, wanted her son, Terrence, who were the same age, to go to Morehouse. And he went down there and he didn't think it was a place for him. So I think she figured this idea out that we had a pretty close-knit family, and if she can convince me to go, then he would come along with me and we would be there together. That was sort of the sisters' strategy, right, with the grandmother, my aunts. Okay, so they said, hey, my aunt gave me this brochure, and she said, you ought to think about going to Morehouse. And I read it, and it's just, my heart ignited, the spirit in me ignited. And I said, that's where I'm going. And the interesting thing is, I was an athlete. I had Division I scholarship opportunities and things like that for football. But the only college that I applied to was Morehouse, because that was the only school that I was going to go to. Why? Because, again, the brochure is right. You want to be somebody, be a Morehouse man. Because being a Morehouse man, it's not just a degree, it's what you learn, what it teaches you, what it puts in your spirit that helps make you be truly a man in America, and a man that transformed the world that we live in for the better. No, I knew I wanted to be a doctor because at age 8, again, the same Aunt Joyce and my other Aunt Joanne and my mother and grandmother, they decided. Then they called my cousin in the room first, and then he went out. Thought we were in trouble. Then I went in second. She asked me when I'd be to grow up. I said, whatever an 8-year-old says. And then she said, no, we've decided that we need a doctor and lawyer in the family, and you're going to be the doctor. So Terrence did. He was the one that went down to Morehouse and then ended up going. And then I went into medicine. So the whole reason, at that time, Morehouse was getting 35 men in medical and dental school a year. It was the place to go. 12.5% of Black male physicians went to Morehouse undergrad. It was sort of the perfect place for me, who was a jock, right? To allow their experience to nurture their desires and make becoming a physician a reality. So I ended up going to the summer program ran by Thomas J. Blocker. And there was 40 of us in the room in summer. And Blocker called us in the room and start off, and he said, raise your hand if you want to be a doctor. And all 40 of us raised our hand. Today, 35 out of the 40 are physicians and dentists. 35 out of the 40. I mean, you think of the odds of that, right? You think of how that worked, because they had a process in place that all we had to do was to follow the yellow brick road. And even people like me, who had to really learn how to study, how to become a physician, really a scholar first, right? That experience was step-by-step process helping. And then imagine this, right? So you're at a place where some brilliant men, period, who were Black, who walked on those rocks, right? Those bricks, and you're walking on them, and their spirit is actually there, right? I could feel their spirit the first time I stepped foot on their campus, and I knew that place was a special place. But not only that, though, you're at school with people like Al Bowden, right? The lawyer. You became the head of the American Bar Association. Eddie Glaude, Rod Sullivan. I mean, Calvin Johnson. Those are folks who were at school. We were there together, right? Alvin Hosey, right? They're there together. These brothers were raw dogs, right? And I'm just a dude trying to chase with the pack, right? Just trying to hang on and be with the guys who were really, really, Keith Wright, L. Selwyn Howard. I mean, these dudes, Charles Robeson, these cats were really, 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 really smart. Oscar Jerkins. I mean, they were really, really hardcore. And I was just like, hey, show me the path to become a scholar, become an intellectual. And I just ran with them, right? And again, most of the time I was really trailing them. And every now and then I got a chance to really stand next to them. But that was the place. And then you look at who came after us and just continue to excel. So when you're in that kind of environment, the odds of success are greater, right? Because you're among people who are all striving for the same thing. There will always be leaders, right? There will always be people sitting in a seat that says, I'm in charge, right? But that's not necessarily leadership, right? Because you can lead without being in a position, right? And I did that for decades, leading without having a position, growing, nurturing. So what leadership decides and helps moves us forward in a direction. So we're always going somewhere. The question is where we're going. And our job as those who have education, those who have opportunity, is to create an environment that allows others to have the same opportunities so that they can read and make a difference and create a better tomorrow, right? So once you're in that seat, it's no longer about you. It's all about you helping the organization, helping people, helping society. And for me, that's in the healthcare space, right? How do we create a healthcare system that works for all of us? Not just for some of us, but for the sum, SUM of us. Like, how do we actually do that? And that's what makes the position that I'm in right now so extremely important, especially at this time when we're seeing the cuts to healthcare. We're seeing all these things that are happening, and that we got to figure out how to do this. And that's sort of what I've, for decades, have dedicated my life to. And I'm fortunate, really fortunate to be sitting in that seat at this time. You know, I've gotten a lot of awards. And I said this, and I'm not just saying this. I said, when I get an award from Morehouse and be honored at Candle in the Dark, that's when I know I've done something. That's when I've lived up to the Morehouse Brown, right? That's when I've lived up to that. And that'll be the test. If I can do something that puts me there among these great legends, then I know that I've done something. And so that tells you getting this, I mean, it doesn't say it's over, because I got a whole lot of work to do and many years to do it. But just that's what it means to me. You know, that to be that a committee of people, of my peers, right, of this great organization that we're a part of, this great thing called Morehouse College, and being a Morehouse alum, and they say, look, dude, there's a whole ocean of great Morehouse grads, and we decided on this day to acknowledge your contributions, then that's, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. If I could go back and talk to the 18, the 21-year-old Willie, right? And I'm going to share what I think about and how things we thought about it that day and how I see the world now. This is what I would say. Take the opportunity so seriously that you absorb the knowledge around you from the professors, from the administrators, from the alumni, and from your peers, right? You know, because we are an incubator of greatness for our community. And sometimes you don't think that. Sometimes you just, when I was working 35 hours a week trying to figure out how to pay my tuition and grinding through this, and, I can't say all the time I understood that. Most of the time I was just like, another assignment, you're just making me do this, right? But at the same time, I did recognize that there was something special about where I was. And I tried to take advantage of all that I could and try to grow from it. And that's sort of, if I could go back, I would say do more, read more, ask more questions, challenge ideas more, talk to people more, talk to those professors who are there, especially those who are Morehouse graduates. Most of the guys who were there with us, they were all, there when Dr. Mays was the president, and they basically hammered that home to us. But there's a story there, and there's an opportunity for you to learn as much as you can. And all I can say is take advantage of it and learn it and use it and do something great with it. The American Medical Association is the largest medical association in the United States. We play a significant role in healthcare and healthcare policy globally as well. We fight for policies that enhance physicians' practices, but we also fight for our patients and for society to ensure that we have a healthcare system that works for us. What I like to say, our system currently works for some of us, SOME, but our desire is to make sure that it works for the sum of us, SUM, the totality of the human family in this nation, and to some degree global. That's what the AMA does. And having the opportunity to be the third African American to sit in that seat as the president, I'll be the 181st president, second African American male, and even the second urologist, means a lot with regards to the future of the AMA. When we look at its past and we begin to look toward the future, we know that it's going in a direction that is good for our nation and good for us. Thank you.